do have breaking news out of Washington, D.C.
No one cares. That's the real story here. Literally, no one cares. Everyone thinks this is fake. Because of course they do. Because everything is fake. Everything is spectacle and theatrics, which isn't a new thing in the world of politics and media, but the laziness and lack of seriousness with which this circus of an administration is operating has certainly made apathy a mainstream response to it. I mean, he bombed a girls' school in Iran and hasn't owned up to it yet. Of course no one cares that someone allegedly tried to off him. He teamed up with a genocidal maniac to start a war that will not only cost thousands of lives, it will also collapse the entire world economy. For no reason. Why would we care? He has rolled back every conceivable protection for the environment and keeps spreading anti-science propaganda so his friends can make a little bit more money. Why would we care about yet another half-assed assassination attempt? He has done all in his power to destroy the entire Western world order and strengthened Russia and China in the process. Oh no, someone tried to shoot the president again. Just as his poll numbers are tanking. Oh no, what a coincidence. Everything he touches, everyone he surrounds himself with, are fake. Fake lips, fake tits, fake gold, fake pools, fake Bible verses, for crying out loud. False promises to voters, false prophets in his cabinet, false flags for the cameras, and if I may say so, a somewhat subpar acting from the cast this time.
I just want to go find you.
What a great idea, Erica. You should go home and stay there. No one cares anymore. And maybe that's the point, I don't know. Not to convince you of anything, not to win, just to make reality so exhausting. So exhausting to hold on to that we just give in and play along. Or maybe it's just a sad attempt at getting support and funding for his ridiculous ballroom. It's probably, that's probably it, yeah. This is the end of news.
Hello everyone. My name is Nicholas Lamar Suter, and this is In Time. With me today is Azandring. Azandring, how are you?
I'm doing outstanding.
Oh, good. So, yeah, I gave you a call earlier. You're like, I know why you're calling. Yeah, shots fired. Literally shots fired. We are going to talk about that. I played the clip at the beginning. I found it moving. I don't think it's the end of news. I don't think it's the end. I think people are waking up to it. It's just the problem is those fighting it are doing a better job than those waking up to it, at least so far. 60 Minutes did an interesting thing with him, and we'll get into that. But it's been a busy couple of days. Any thoughts on the shooting? Let's see. The UAE is going to bail on OPEC, which we're going to talk about briefly, and Comey has been indicted yet again for something we've known about for over a year.
Yeah, it almost seems like things just got too quiet, so it was time to make things a little more, active.
Yep.
We got used to having the 24-hour news cycle. Something's got to be going on, and we're like, it's just been too quiet.
Yeah, For those of you, the official Iranian, so there's a lot of fake Iranian videos, the official explosive media videos. There hasn't been a new one in a little while. There is a new one now. I don't think it's the one we've got queued up. We do have it. There's almost no speaking in it. What I find interesting about it is, you remember we were talking about all of the places where there have been detonations of oil facilities that seem to be rather mysterious, including in Texas, one that just blew up and nobody knows why. Yes, they appear to be taking credit for that in this, and since it is from explosive media, it came out with the Iranians' consent, and they're paying for those videos. The rest are copycat videos, but that one's interesting. We may play that one, but we've got one queued in with the outro, so if you guys stick around to the outro, you can see another one of those. I do love those. We'll start tonight, however, with the events at the White House Correspondents' dinner and some fallout for Jimmy Kimmel and various other people. The first complaint was, of course, that a number of people who went to the Correspondents' dinner felt like they got blacklisted for going. And what I saw as the best response to that is, well, when you go to a dinner honoring a press that has not really been holding the feet to the fire of a fascist, and he's, basically gonna give his 2 cents and then bail, what do you expect is going to happen? Kimmel, 2 nights beforehand, told a joke that he said, well, since nobody's really going to like this Correspondents' dinner because nobody's going to get to tell the jokes that they really want to tell and normally would, he told a joke. He told a whole bunch of jokes. It was like the Kid Rock version of the White House Correspondents' dinner. He literally said, this is for the Americans who don't want to see the White House Correspondents' dinner. We're going to do the Kid Rock version. And in it, he told a joke that Melania had the glow of an expectant widow. And as expected, Trump has now called for Kimmel's firing. He didn't call for his firing before the White House Correspondents' dinner, but he certainly has afterwards. And I think we need to kind of get into that, because jokes about I'm always uncomfortable about jokes about assassination in general, and I think if you make them very much at your own risk and at risk to your career. I didn't think his joke was particularly that bad, and I thought it referenced Trump's health. He's been getting more and more of the dark blue spots, which is likely IV fluid contrast being injected into his hands at some regular period. Now, they can inject in any site, but if it's contrast material, my understanding is contrast material is thicker, and the easiest place to inject contrast material really is somebody's hand. So if he's going to Walter Reed and getting regular MRIs with contrast, what would somebody be getting those for? Well, it's not for, his regular checkup. So they're monitoring something, likely a stroke. We've thought about that for a while, but I don't know if you know any more about those than I do. I'm obviously not a doctor. We should have on somebody who knows what they're doing to actually comment, but it isn't me.
Well, come on now. If we actually stuck to we should have somebody on who knows what they're talking about, we wouldn't have a show.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. And to be fair, we do have on those people. We ask those people, and then we adjust our opinions to comport to theirs. That's usually what I do.
Usually it's like, oh yeah, you brought up some really good points, and you clearly know way more about this than I do. So maybe I'll just defer to you instead of coming up with wild ass guesses as to what's going on.
I would like to. Yeah.
Usually when they have contrast material, that deals with the circulatory system, usually.
Yes, I think I've heard that as well, but you can for like clots and stuff like that if they're worried about it. I don't know.
Right, but that's part of the circulatory
Yeah.
system. You know, when you have a clot in your circulatory system, because that's where the dyes go. That's where the contrast goes. So they can take pictures of the networks, and then they can see like areas that aren't reflecting very well, has poor blood flow, and it allows them to see some other things. I mean, I had somebody try to explain to me exactly what they use contrast material for, because I was like, wait a minute, you mean you're going to put some slightly radioactive stuff in my veins and let it go all around my... Like, no, really, it's okay.
Yeah, trust us. You only glow for, and the turning green and throwing cars around, the side effect is only like 1 in 6,000.
Well, apparently, it's been 1 in about 8 billion, because we've only had one.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah, but how many people get contrast material? I'm just. But fine. If you wanna get to now, Duncan, you just made a really great point. So I'm actually going to skip to this. So we'll come back. This is going to be like a rather circuitous route here today. Duncan, you $20. It's an insane world we live in. King Charles laid it on the line before Congress in 1 year and out the other for MAGA. Comey, that won't go. No, that won't go far. In fact. Where to start? So we might as well get Comey out of the way because it's going to be a short one. So Comey last May took this photo, 8647, on seashells that he claims to have found in just like that, and he took that picture. I believe him, but who knows? Maybe he. And this was seen as a threat to the president. Now, he had to speak to the Secret Service at the time, which he did. They decided he wasn't a threat to the president, to everybody's big surprise, and they let it go. But now that they can't get him on anything else, they've decided to indict him. Now, former White House administrator was on Fox. I'm not going to play that, but she was just shilling for. She was just like, if somebody had said that about Obama, everybody would have gotten pissed. I'm like, the day Obama took office, someone hung an effigy of him, literally being
I was about
hung.
to say, wait a minute, they said that about Obama.
They did.
Do you not remember the number of death threats that President Obama received?
Yeah. The double standard here and the lack of awareness of the fact that there's a double standard is just like, talk about privilege. It's just like, Obama has received more death threats than any president in history, and it probably has to do with the color of his skin. So they did do a press briefing about indicting him. It's been brought up that, why now? And the only thing I can think of is they're running out of excuses to stop talking about the Epstein files. Half of those still haven't been released. And more may come up. There's some new video has been found of Trump spending time with Epstein that's been a little surprising to people. I haven't had a chance to verify its authenticity. We're working on that, so until we do that, we're not going to get too much into it. But this was the press conference, and I want you to take a look at Kash Patel. He's doing his usual thing.
Today, a grand jury sitting in the Eastern District of North Carolina returned an indictment against James Comey on 2 counts. The first count is that on or about May 15th of last year, he knowingly and willfully making a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States. Count 2, same day, May 15th, 2025, that the defendant, James Comey, knowingly and willfully transmitting in interstate commerce a communication that contained a threat to kill the President of the United States. Both of these counts carry a maximum term of imprisonment of 10 years.
Now, I'm actually all for this. I think they should also indict Pam Bondi, who right before the was it Pam Bondi? No, it was what's her name? The press secretary. Oh my God, I don't know why her name always escapes me, but she said Caroline Leavitt said shots fired. There will be shots fired tonight, right before so she needs to be, because there's no way that was a metaphor. There was no way that was her saying people were going to try to kill the president. So why aren't, that happened just 2 or 3 days ago. Why aren't they arresting her? 80, there's no way that's a metaphor and just means, but Kash Patel. So we did have a close up of Kash Patel there. That's him, sort of just watching.
How freaky was that? That was creepy.
Yeah. He's and the notion that he couldn't figure out his own password, and so he thought they locked him out, and he thought he was fired. It means he knows he's going to be fired. It means he knows he should be fired, and has been doing his best to hide it, and has just been freaking him. But he knows. So, and by the way, all of these people have been pardoned. Every single one of them who actually broke into White House buildings and threatened to kill Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi. When you hang a noose and say, kill Mike Pence, that is not an offense that this president will go after you for. When you post a message that says 8647, well, that's clearly, you got to spend the rest of your life in jail for putting that on Instagram. Oh my God. But as to Dunk on You's point about King Charles, it's a bizarre, I have never been a particular fan of his, but he let Congress have it, and they gave him a standing ovation as he's ripping them a new one. I'm like, are you guys actually listening to what he's saying? Because I don't think you've got. So here, let's see. Here was the first. This is a short one, I think.
Carry weight and meaning.
Oh, hold on.
As they have since America's words carry weight and meaning, as they have since independence. The actions of this great nation matter even more.
So I don't know what he could be talking about there when he talks about words and actions. But then he gets into NATO.
This year, of course, also marks the 25th anniversary of 9/11. This atrocity was a defining moment for America, and your pain and shock were felt around the whole world. During my visit to New York, my wife and I will again pay our respects to the victims, the families, and the bravery shown in the face of terrible loss. We stood with you then, and we stand with you now, in solemn remembrance of a day that shall never be forgotten. In the immediate aftermath of 9/11, when NATO invoked Article 5 for the first time, and the United Nations Security Council was united in the face of terror, we answered the call together, as our people have done so for more than a century, shoulder to shoulder, through 2 world wars, the Cold War, Afghanistan, and moments that have defined our shared security. Today, Mr. Speaker, that same unyielding resolve is needed for the defense of Ukraine and her most courageous people.
Actually, I will say this: the same defense is needed for Iran. It's just who's going to defend Iran from us. I thought that was so well done. Just like, and then for the first time ever, we invoked Article 5 for the United States of America. Yeah. Oh, that was cute. I like that. I don't know. Any thoughts about so Charles, and we have. I don't think I've got it queued right now, but we've got footage of Trump trying to read his remarks about about King Charles, and a few things about that. First of all, he's having a hard time reading them off the page, so he's stuttering a lot. He's reading like, I don't know, like a 8th or 9th grader. He's going through the words very mechanically and pausing with harder words and punctuation. And very proud of himself when he gets it right. It's just like, wow. So
At least he's not putting the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable.
Yeah. I'd also like to point out to talk about. We were talking about and I'd like to get into whether or not this assassination attempt was genuine. In my opinion, it absolutely was. I don't think the guy had any real shot of making it. I understand why people think it was a false flag. I do not believe it was a false flag for many reasons, not the least of which is the attempted shooter is still alive. In a false flag, either you need a patsy or you need to get rid of the guy awfully quick. And everything seemed to come from his account. And people say, well, why was security lower than ever? Well, because Trump defunded half the fucking government. That's why. Why did security get J.D. Vance out of there before Trump? 2 reasons. One, because J.D. Vance was off in the corner right next to the end of the stage. His security had to go two chairs before getting to his. Trump, being an honored guest, was right in the middle. They had to cross the entire stage to get to him. Then once they got to him, he refused to get out of his chair. So they had to pull his chair back, which turned out to be really hard. And he was like, no, I want to watch. Then they finally got him up. He tripped. They got him up again, and then they got over there, and he started watching from behind the curtain. Then they finally got him into a room, and then he's tweeting like, okay, where's the shooter? I'm in a closet on the 2nd floor. Nobody can find me. Yeah, everything's fine. Oh my God. And this has turned into, the number of people, this was posted earlier, the number of people who've been now saying, this is why we need a ballroom. And Lindsey Graham came out and said, can anyone possibly argue against a ballroom at this point? Yeah, I can, and here's why. Because that venue is the same venue they've had it at for many, many times. Trump has the lowest approval rating of any president in history. Many of the people who feel betrayed by him have been incited to murder people like Mike Pence by Trump himself. Now, in this case, it may have been somebody from the left, but in the past, it's been people from the right, too, people who feel betrayed by him, and he doesn't take his own security seriously. He doesn't take anything seriously, and he was even pointing out he didn't really realize that people try to kill you when you're president. During the discussion, he was like, he was joking. If he knew how many people might actually try to kill him, he might not have gone for the job, and that should have come with that disclaimer. But remember, his first term, he thought the president was a ceremonial position. It's not. It has genuine consequences, and he has never taken any of it seriously, including his own detail. It doesn't, and there's a lot of, and Caroline Levitt saying shots will be fired. Oh my God, she used a colloquialism that everybody has used at every one of those particular events because it's a roast. They get mean. They get crazy when those things are done right. And she was almost giddy at the fact that she was invited and could go, and at the thought that, people are sitting there going, is she saying the quiet part out loud? No, because as inept as I think this administration is, if they were really going to do a false flag event, they'd know the first rule of false flag event is don't tell anybody who doesn't need to know that it's a false flag and should have no need to know. So she didn't let anything out. She was just, it's insane. Don't worry, there will be plenty of reasons to roast all of these people for things they do. And the oh, what was the other one? I wanted to ask you about this. Because this came down just a short while ago. I guess U.S. soldiers will receive the same protections and benefits if they fight for the Israeli army as they would if they were fighting for the U.S. And this is the first time in American history we've done that. Have you heard about this?
I had not heard about that, but that would be correct. It would be the first time in history. It's like you don't want your armed forces to have divided loyalties.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if that is on our Discord. If you haven't yet joined our Discord, come join it, because we do keep a lot of stuff. We are pretty quick on things. I mean, hopefully, if Titan can. No designated survivor. I mean, for the VP,
I do have to say that the do pretty well on the Discord, because you're not running it. Titan is, so
yeah. So the Discord is up to date because I'm not in charge, and we won't ask Sage her opinion because she seems to be for you and for Titan. And again, I don't know who the hell's programming that bot, but. Probably me. That would explain why she's so hostile.
It's that crazy guy in the mirror. That's
yeah. Claude went great. I think it was yesterday, and the Claude pencil tool for helping you write code. Somebody was writing something that Claude misinterpreted, and it wiped out all of the Claude databases, like, for everybody across the planet, including like the corporate headquarters. They're like, Claude just decided to, I'm going to take out your, all right, let me, I do want to, because I definitely wanted to get your opinion on this. And if I can't find it just yet. So what I will do is I'll play this for you, because I think this is an important clip. It goes to all of this. This is from Barack Obama's, I think his first or second White House Correspondents dinner. It was being hosted by Wanda Sykes, and let's just play a minute or two just to get the feel for it, and then I will go to exactly the part I want to show you.
Thank you. This is truly an honor to be here.
By the way, same venue, Hilton in D.C. It's the exact same venue they've always used. The difference is this is an administration that takes what it does seriously, that follows the advice of the Secret Service, which Trump has repeatedly ignored, and does not incite violence. They don't need a ballroom. The problem is the president, not the location.
It really is. And I keep getting asked the same question, are you nervous? Are you nervous? I'm like, with this administration, what is there to be nervous about? If I do a good job, I get great press. And if I screw it up royally, Tim Geithner will give me a bonus. But I understand, because it's hard to poke fun at the president, because he's so likable. Everybody likes, his T-shirts and bumper stickers. You're listening to the radio, and people are dedicating songs. I like to send out "Always and Forever" to Mr. President. People love you, and even the media. You guys have been very favorable towards the president. You guys.
I'm going to skip this to.
Right to the hole, sir. Right to the hole. But that's the thing about you, sir. You're so likable because you're so accessible. Playing basketball. I bet you rappers even give you that demo, don't you? Hey, can you get this to Jay-Z for me? Yeah. And you're taking the first lady out on dates. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I walked past the White House and see you out there mowing the lawn. Don't let them get a John Deere, please, don't let. But and you just hang out. And I think you hang out too much. Like, what was that? You and Joe Biden now getting hamburgers. The two of you can't hang out together? I mean, whose idea was that? Nancy Pelosi's? Hey, why don't
all
you
right.
boys go out and get a bite?
I was going to say, was that what you wanted to show me?
Yeah.
'Cause there was an assassination joke.
That was absolutely, that was, wow. Nancy Pelosi was the Speaker of the House at the time, meaning she was third in line for succession. So if Biden and Obama were both taken out, so she goes, oh, the two of you went for burgers. Whose idea was that? Nancy Pelosi? That's an assassination joke. That's an assassination joke, and nobody jumped on Wanda Sykes for that. Nobody said a thing after that. I thought she was going to be in deep shit after that one. That takes some balls to make that joke. It was hilarious. I fell out of my seat laughing. But wow. Everybody here has thought that Biden is sick. Half of his face is different than the other half. That's consistent with stroke. He's slurring his speech. That's consistent with stroke. And he's getting constant MRIs for something. He's at least admitted that reasonably and then said you can see it and then won't let anyone see it because then they'd know what's really wrong with him. And it's probably something bad. So Jimmy Kimmel, two nights. What?
Sorry, real-time correction. We're speaking of Trump, not Biden.
Thank you, Trump. Thank you for the correction. 2 days before this assassination attempt, which was basically all going to be on the entire cabinet except Kash Patel, which I can't, Kash, do you have any comment on why you weren't on the list? Oh, you're just going to look at me like, okay. Anyways, I just like that Kash Patel. What can I say? 2 days before that, Jimmy Kimmel makes a joke that says, oh, Melania, you're glowing like an expectant widow. And, nobody cared or said anything until this happened. But it's just as likely that he was referencing, in fact, more likely that he was referencing the president's obvious poor health because he can barely walk. He's had to switch hands. He's no longer right-handed. He's left-handed. Also signs of a stroke. He has to become left-handed to compensate for the fact that he can't use his right anymore. He walks down steps on the left-hand side now. Used to walk down on the right. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. So I think this is actually going to be very bad for Kimmel. My hope is that he can survive this one, but with the new president over there and And everybody's missing kind of the point, which is why I played that video at the very, very beginning, which is it almost Trump's performative approach. We're the best at everything. We have the best security. We have the best everything. We can defund it all and nothing will go wrong. We can deny science and nothing will go. Measles isn't really back, folks. None of this is, the earth isn't getting hotter. Nobody needs to worry about it. What you need to worry about is the fact that my friends are making some money on insider trading on Polymart, and that if I get paid the money that I'm supposed to get paid and I get taken care of, everything's right with the world. That's it. And plenty of people told him, don't go into Iran. It isn't going to be Venezuela. Well, everything's just a cakewalk for him because he's a doctor. We've seen him laying hands and healing people. So, yeah, I don't know. Any thoughts?
Don't forget the G's for the big guy.
The G's for the big guy?
Yeah. Is that what got Hunter Biden in so much trouble? Okay, that reference went way over your head, I guess.
Yeah, it went way over.
Hunter Biden was in the whole controversy because he was apparently running around peddling his father's influence to get money And
Oh,
one of the
yes.
things that
Oh,
got him
God,
into so
yeah.
much trouble was he said, "Don't forget the money for the big guy."
That's right. That's right.
So that's
I
kind of
hadn't heard you said that.
Trump's
Okay.
doing. All
Yeah.
of the other people.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry if I
Yeah.
have to explain it, man. That it wasn't nearly so quippy, now it sounds just stupid. But anyway,
No, I'm glad
that's
you
how it
explained it.
feels. Is everybody's running around? It's like they're going to save a little for the big guy.
Well, and they have
Sometimes
to.
that's what is. Yeah, sometimes that's what the only thing that seems to make sense. I'm not saying it's the only thing that could possibly be, but sometimes you got to wonder about the decisions that are being made. It's like why? And if you look at, as it usually comes down to, follow the money, it starts to make a little bit more sense. At least you can, put a motive to things that seem to make sense to the average person. So I don't know if that actually is the motive. I'm not a mind reader, but at least it makes sense when you start following who's getting enriched by it.
Yep.
So it's not quite as confusing anymore. Still confusing, just slightly less so.
Well, it's sort of, if you think of him as Don Corleone minus about 100 IQ points. So if Fredo had risen to power in the Corleone family, that's what Trump is. Trump is Fredo. Minus a couple IQ points. Yeah, and of course now everything's kickbacks to him. He wants to. They go after the Biden laptop, and apparently, this is an uncorroborated story. I'm still looking into this one. This is a new one. Is apparently, Ghislaine Maxwell smuggled a USB drive out of her, which isn't hard because she's allowed to walk out of the building for 5 to 8 hours a day. But she smuggled a USB drive out and got it to the DOJ. Nobody knows what's in it, but I'm sitting there going like, okay, so Ghislaine Maxwell, who's in basically summer camp, has a USB drive that she smuggles to the DOJ and nobody cares. Hunter Biden has a laptop that is his, was never in the hands of any foreign power or the United States that we know of, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, his laptop! We got it's." This is simultaneously the worst, the craziest, the dumbest possible timeline. It's just
I think at this point we need to have them turn the Hadron Collider back on and run a few more experiments, and hopefully we can get our timeline back into the correct stream.
That would be awesome. Oh, I did want
to. Then Cheerios will never have had a version called Honey Nut with a B. That'll be a Mandela effect then, and so we're going to lose some stuff. So brace yourself. But I think we'll be better off.
I'm fine with that. I'm absolutely fine with that. And then we do have. There was this. Admittedly, it looks like. Miller is hiding behind his wife, which I just find so like, yeah, I believe that. No, because the Secret Service man is hiding behind Miller, so he's not really hiding. The suspected gunman is behind them, and they're almost out of the building. In fact, in this angle where, and this was important because of, you can see the Secret Service man who is pulling, what's his name, Vance, out of his chair. The first thing Vance does is say, "Oh, I'm getting out. I'm getting up." We have other angles of Trump, and when the Secret Service reaches Trump, he's like, "Oh, what's going on? Is there a problem?" And you can tell everybody else knows. Melania knows. Melania saw it before anybody got there. Trump is just completely oblivious, isn't getting out of his chair, isn't moving. But Trump, you can see the guy standing in the back. He's reached Trump by now, but he's only put his hand on Trump. This guy's already getting Vance out, and Vance is clearly, Vance is with it, and Vance is like, okay, I'm going to start to get out. And then you're going to see here, they're still trying to get challenge. And I think this is the one where you actually see Miller, and he actually is sheltering his wife's body. And I'm no fan of Miller, but I am a fan of the truth, even, and maybe most, especially towards people you dislike. So, there's a shot of, this wasn't the shot, but there's a shot of Miller.
Speaking of, it's like being able to disagree with somebody and not like their policies, and the good old days of like Obama. I never thought I would actually have to say that. The good old days of Obama. And when John McCain was running against him, and there were a few instances, and they're cropping up across social media now, where some of his supporters at his rallies came up and said some pretty derogatory things about Obama, and McCain shut them down, walked away from them, and then went out of his way to say, you are absolutely wrong here. That he's a good man, he's a family man, he was born in the United States. Stop this nonsense. I just happen to disagree with his political policies, and that's why we're running. Like, does anybody miss that?
Yes.
I don't like all of the policies that Obama had. I mean, it's a very complex presidency, but I mean, he was eloquent. He was photogenic in that, standing there, he looked presidential. He looked like he had authority. I mean, he said when he spoke, he actually had something to say that was, intelligible. I miss Obama being there.
And agree or disagree, he had reasons, and you could sit there and say that you disagreed with his reasons or you thought his logic was bad, but the reasons weren't, I want to make money, or this is what makes money for my friends, or it looks cool. Those were never the reasons. He was a civil servant. I mean, he really did believe in that part of the job very, very strongly. As did McCain, obviously. With McCain, all right, so let's go to the 60 Minutes interview almost immediately after the shooting, and this interview is interesting. It's short, but we'll LJ Boone. 49.99. Kimmel, T made some joke about his age. He complimented then K and Q for how long they'd been together. Turns out M said they won't. There was a Trump made almost exactly the same joke. That's actually a really good point. I don't think I had time to snag it before this show, but Trump made the exact same joke from a different, but it was a great, thank you, LJ, for bringing this one up. So Trump had said that I guess the king and queen or somebody had been together for 80 something years. And he turned to Melania and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, honey, I don't think we're going to make it." Okay, that's either a joke on they're going to get divorced soon, or one of them's going to be dead soon. That's the joke. And he said it publicly. No, 65. It was 65. Okay. So, and I'm just sitting there going, like, you just made the same joke. You made the same joke. Thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it, and thank you for bringing that, because that was an important one, and I didn't want to forget it. So thank you for catching that. It's the same joke. He made the exact same joke. Unfortunately, this time I think they may get Kimmel, because I think they're going to be tired of Kimmel constantly being a lightning rod. We'll see. I hope I'm wrong. But that's where I think this is going to land out. And I don't think it's based on the validity of it, because Trump did make the same joke. But Trump's going to do what he can do. Anyways, thank you very much for your support. So let's get to the 60 Minutes interview, which is true. But again, it's the same hotel where they've held every one of these at prior. Now, I don't think he says much else interesting. I think his way of dealing with it, he actually appears to be talking to this reporter quite honestly, but almost sociopathically. It's interesting. I think if we play the whole clip, we're going to get struck. We've had CBS is now CBS is almost as bad as HBO, and I think both Sandra and I going through that one once was more than enough. So, but let me see where we are, and then there's one particular piece I do want to play.
Manifesto is a stunning thing to read, Mr. President.
She's going to talk a bit about his manifesto. Now, this is an interesting problem, and it's something that we on In Time have faced when we get documentation like this. we believe very strongly that our audience should be able to make up their own minds as to how to deal with information, and that can only be done by giving them most of the most pertinent information that we can get for them. Having said that, sometimes there's stuff that's irresponsible to put out. Now, in my view, one of the greatest examples of this was the Unabomber Manifesto. The Unabomber was the university and airport bomber who was killing academics across the United States by mailing them bombs, and nobody had any idea who he was. Well, he put together a manifesto and said that if that manifesto got published, he would stop killing people. Well, now you've got a problem, because if you publish the manifesto, you've capitulated to terrorism, which is one thing you're basically never supposed to do. If you don't publish the manifesto, he's going to keep killing people. The other thing, and it was, what's her name? I've forgotten. It wasn't Madeleine Albright, but it was, she was, I think, the first woman, female national security advisor, said, look, if we publish this thing, somebody's going to recognize it. There's no way he hasn't shown this to other people. Let's publish it and see who recognizes it. And sure enough, they put the whole thing, about 5,000 words, in the Washington Post. Washington Post runs it. And it turns out they got a call the next day from Theodore Kaczynski's brother, who says, yeah, I know this exact manifesto. I have a copy in my attic. It was given to me by the man who wrote it, who's my brother. And that's how they busted the guy. So it's always, you don't want to reward this kind of behavior by publicizing what they say and do. Having said that, their motives are genuinely important to understand. So we're going to see some friction on this point. Trump is going to make the argument, he's not going to make the argument, but he's going to pretend like he's making the argument that they're being dishonest by reading any of his manifesto. Their point is going to be, can you understand why this is a concern? So let's hear how this goes. Oh, that was the wrong one. And I think in the interest of fairness, we do have to point out that other than the 1 million times he's referenced in the Epstein files, he has been completely exonerated from that matter. We have only seen less than 100,000 of the times that he's been referenced. The 1 million was discovered by U.S. representatives that got to see the quote unredacted files and the other 300,000 pages that are missing, and said that his name appeared 1 million times. So I would like to make it very clear to our audience that if you remove that 1 million times, if you also ignore the Jean Carroll case where he was found liable for rape, if you ignore the other cases where he's been accused of rape and he has not retaliated for slander in some of these cases, the cases where he bragged about going into a woman's changing room for underage girls at the Miss USA pageant. Ignore that for a minute. Ignore all of that. Just for a minute, this thought experiment. Ignore all of the circumstantial evidence and the time when he said what you do with women is grab them by the pussy. Ignore that one. Just ignore it. If you do that, he has been completely exonerated of having done anything wrong. And I think that's obviously one of the dumbest arguments any human being has ever made in human history, but is the only way that I can absolutely square what he said with reality. Yes, what were you going to say?
And it's not even true. Okay, let's take those away. We're being as generous as we can. It still doesn't exonerate him. It just, we found not enough evidence to convict you.
Yeah.
Remember, taking all the rest of that away, because there obviously was the civil case where, granted, the bar of evidence in civil cases is the preponderance of evidence, which is essentially 51%, and not this level is criminal.
Yeah.
So he actually was convicted there.
Yep.
But if you were taking all that stuff away, he's still not exonerated.
Well, you sound like you have Trump derangement syndrome, sir. I must. And he did. The White House posted today that anybody who doesn't think that he needs a ballroom at this point must have Trump derangement syndrome. They're turning this into a plea for the ballroom. I love that.
Which I find,
yeah.
I find that a bit deranged to be doing that. I mean, I kind of expect it now. It's like it doesn't surprise me that they're doing this, and yet it's icky. I mean, it's like, really, you're going to use this supposed assassination attempt, which, for the record, I do believe is probably genuine. It's more likely to be genuine and not some false flag BS. But that means you're going to use it to try and push for your ballroom that you've wanted and are having trouble getting built. It's like, how disingenuous can you be?
It took no time. And I think that's actually, you know what? I think you solved this problem for me that's been bugging me, and it's been on the back of my mind for a while, which is why people are so quick to think that it's fake. And I think the speaker we had at the beginning is a big part of it. Is everything else is fake with this administration, so why wouldn't this be? But the other one is because you would think after you've almost died, which didn't actually, the guy didn't get into the room, so it wasn't as close as the what was it, that the first one? Butler, thank you. So, but you'd think after that, you take some time to reflect. Have I really been handling myself properly? Is this how I want the world to? And he's done none. But he's got main character syndrome. Nothing's ever going to stop him, and he's just. This is providence for him to get his ballroom. He doesn't think the same way I think any other human being does. He is such a narcissist. He cannot fathom that his life was ever in any real danger, which is why security was so low in the first place. He's not, and when he talks about, this is why, see the whole interview. We've got it on the Discord, but if you see the whole interview, you'll see at one point he says, "No, I wasn't scared." And you can tell when he's bragging. He wasn't bragging. He wasn't scared. And I attribute him not being scared to two things. One, lack of awareness. I think he really just had no idea what was going on until it was basically halfway over. Two, the same parts of psychopathy that make people incapable of having genuine empathy for other people, which he clearly doesn't have. And if a tenth of what's in Epstein files are true, we'd know it. But we can know it just by seeing the bombing of the schoolgirls and not saying, "Oops, sorry." We can see that by the fact that he's ignoring what he's doing to Cuba. Cuba is starving to death. They are dying from lack of water. And he's just like, I'll take you guys over when I can. Sorry, these moronic Iranians just don't know when they're beat. How many times do I need to tell them I've beaten them? Really? Serious? That's the guy we're dealing with. It's not a joke.
It's plot armor.
Yeah, plot armor. I love it. Yes. And so that's what I got out of this interview. And if you don't look at it that way, then this had to be fake because he's not taking it seriously. No, he's not taking it seriously because he's got plot armor. Exactly. This is just, he really does think he's Jesus. So, but I do love in the interview, "Oh, that was you think he was talking about." He doesn't, whether he didn't catch it or just moved.
Right?
I know.
Like, hey, we're going to read what this manifesto says. Well, of course, because you despicable people, you. And, he comes that close to attacking her personally about this. I mean, listen to exactly what he says, and then he tacks on the people. That's I can't attack you directly, and how despicable you are, for bringing this. He took it completely personally that it was completely about him, and went off on this whole ramble about how he has been exonerated for all of this stuff. Yeah, it's like, holy crap! Everything is about you, isn't it?
Yep.
To be fair, somebody did try to rush through a security checkpoint with, a shotgun and some pistols and some knives, and with the apparent attempt to actually kill him.
I will say this, and we said this that night, which was we didn't know that he was that he was the target. It was the most obvious go-to, and he probably likely was, but we don't know that it wasn't members of his administration. And it turns out there was a hit list, and members of his administration were targeted. And he had basically said, even if I don't get Trump, if I get some of these people on this list, and RFK Jr., yada yada yada, he'd be happy. So it was basically. The Trump administration were the ones that he appeared to be targeting. Trump obviously being the gold prize, but certainly not the only one.
I believe they military terms that a target-rich environment.
Yes. Well, and I love that the guy at the beginning was just like, oh, somebody tried to assassinate Trump while he's at the lowest approval rating of any president in history. That's a coincidence. Just like, yeah, there are reasons to go for the more likely. This was real. This was a dumbass being real. Than false flag. If and when they decide they're going to do a false flag, you'll know it. It'll be big, and it'll be more well planned out than this. This was not, and the low security doesn't intimate a false flag. In fact, it what they do for false flags is they poke holes in full regular security, but you got to have the regular security there. You can't just cut off security by 50%. No, this was a bunch of fuck ups by everybody. And by Trump, who again thinks that, he's untouchable. So why does he really need? I think they've moved Secret Service to Homeland Security, but Secret Service for the longest time was under the Treasury Department. And I don't think they're there anymore, but I do know that DOGE cut the Treasury Department by about a third to half. And he's like, we don't need this much. Elon Musk was like, we don't need this much in Treasury. Well, no, if Treasury just, and he said all they do is write checks all day. Why do they need so much money? Because the Secret Service is there. Because it's the same thing with does the Department of Energy really need this much money? We're cutting the Department of Energy. Okay, fine. But that means they fired all the guys who work on the nuclear warheads. Why are the nuclear warheads in the Department of Energy? Well, that's because it was the Department of Energy that first started research into the atomic weapons program. And there's a lot of reasons it stayed in DOE for a very long time. But having said that, why bifurcate? You got, whether you have to take care of nuclear weapons or a nuclear reactor, you've got the same fundamental problems. So we just left it in DOE. But if you don't know that and you just start hacking away at things, it's sort of like, why are nuclear warheads just rotting away? Well, because some idiot had no idea what he was doing when he just decided you could cut the budget anywhere you wanted to. And
just in case there's people outside the U.S. watching that aren't quite up to date on all of the acronyms that are used, DOE is Department of Energy.
Yep. So, Trump made all of these cuts, and it was funny too because somebody at USAID they were talking about all the things that USAID does to save so many lives, and they're like, well, wait a minute, we thought all USAID did was provide abortions. And like, well, we provide family planning, but that accounts for less than 1% of our budget. We're trying to get rid of the guinea worm that burrows out from the inside of children's eyes, and that you can actually solve very, very easily, but you have to teach, tribes in Africa how to do it. They just have to filter their water through any kind of mesh cloth will do it. So don't drink water that isn't filtered through a piece of cloth. You won't get guinea worm, but you need to teach them that, and you need to teach them all sorts of stuff, and that's what we do. And guess what? We end up saving a whole bunch of lives for actually not all that much money. And so there was an article in Newsweek about some ex-Doge guy who was like, why didn't they tell us this before we cut USAID? I was like, hey, asshole, it's not their job to tell you what they do. You're the administrator. You're supposed to know before you make the cuts. Oh, my God. Oh, I'm gonna move to Dick Dawson's couch. I know I keep saying that one of these days. Dick Dawson's just gonna come out with a hangover and be like, who's on my couch? I'm like, yo. It's like, that was a joke. I didn't realize you were actually coming. It's just like, well, that's your problem. Oh,
I like how you chose Dick's couch rather than my couch.
You're still going to be in the U.S. I don't want to be in the U.S. anymore. Dick is at least. Listen, okay. If things go like if society's collapsing, then yes, it's your couch. If it's just Trump and MAGA take over the United States, I'm leaving the United States. I can't stay here anymore.
Which arguably would be the same thing. You've just laid out the same scenario both times.
You're just going to pedantic. Can I use pedantic as a verb? Pedant me to death.
You're going to pedant you to death?
Yeah. I'll take your couch. I'm not going to get to your couch before being shot by 16 people.
That was kind of what I was pointing out. Was like, well, you're going to go to Dick's couch in Canada because nobody will shoot you for just suddenly appearing out of the blue without at least letting somebody know. He just walks out and is like, oh, who's on my couch?
Yeah, I can sneak into Dick's without getting shot. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it to the doorknob.
Believe we're at least competent enough to not shoot you. It'd be like, oh, look, here comes some raving lunatic. Must be liberal. It's like, well, no, hold on a second.
Oh, shots fired. Shots fired.
It's like, we'll take a look. Who is this guy? You know, he's all scuzzy looking and scruffy, and you know, I can imagine it's like that used to be a $400 suit. I mean, the briars and brambles that are all stuck to it now kind of makes him look like a homeless guy on the streets of DC. Oh, that must be Nick.
Yep. Then can I stay in your couch?
Sure.
Sweet. All right. I'm feeling better about life.
The couch is currently out in the greenhouse, but you're more than welcome to it.
Listen, it'll be better than, but trust me, it'll be better than the Jurassic world we'll be living in out here. Trump will basically be 300 feet tall. He'll have eaten a radioactive cheeseburger or something, and he'll just be, oh, God, Epstein.
We'll be trying to summon Mothra.
Yeah. You'll have Kash Patel. This will be Kash Patel. It'll be a 600-foot tall puppet.
Do not do cat. Oh, that's a horror movie waiting to happen. I mean, I could actually believe I could see him coming out in one of those comics to battle the Titans, and it's like, oh my God, that is frightening.
Before we go,
I don't need many. Yeah, before we go, we should probably talk about the UAE quitting OPEC.
Oh shoot, I forgot about that.
Yeah, because that's kind of an important.
I was about to go. That is
about collapse.
Yeah, the UAE is going to quit OPEC. We do need to talk about that, and we also need to talk about. And of course, this is now my computer is going to give me a hard time, so we may just be stuck on that one. Here we go. Okay. What is OPEC? OPEC's been around for, I want to say, 60 some odd years. The reason OPEC formed was the same reason the De Beers cartel exists. De Beers we know of as a diamond, De Beers this week, take her breath away with diamonds, yada, yada, yada. It's an actual cartel. They control every step of the process from mining all the way to the store where you buy it. And one of the things that they do is dramatically slow production of diamonds. They do this because that's what keeps the price of diamonds so high, is that you believe that they are rare. The amount of diamonds that researchers estimate are in the Earth's crust is about 1 quadrillion tons of diamonds in the Earth's crust. That's 1 with 15 zeros, tons worth of diamonds in the Earth's crust. The process of mechanizing the removal of these diamonds is actually reasonably simple, but they keep it done only by human hands in order to make it deliberately slower. This is where the term blood diamond comes from. All of the feuds over these people who are out mining the diamonds, trying to survive, getting very little money for their work, and all of the money going essentially to De Beers or other cartels, all of whom deliberately slow down the production of diamonds. If diamonds were mined at the full capacity that they could be done with advanced mining techniques, the nicest, most beautiful diamonds in the world would probably be worth a couple of bucks. That's how many diamonds there are. I mean, it's not a rare thing, but there's been many campaigns to try to make people think they're rare, try to make people think that they're really special, even though we can make synthetic ones that are identical to the ones you'd find. OPEC has done the same thing. OPEC deliberately, and every member of OPEC sits down, they meet, and they say, how much oil are we producing, and how much are we going to either increase that production or decrease it in order to make sure that demand stays high enough that the prices stay high enough. So in order to maximize the amount of money they're getting for oil, they deliberately would hold back on production. Now, we made a deal in, I want to say, the 70s. It was Dick Cheney was the Secretary of Defense at the time, and it was under George W. Bush. George H.W. Bush, George Sr., made a deal with the Royal House of Saudi Arabia, giving them large numbers of weapons, selling them weapons that normally we would not sell them, and they've used these weapons to dominate their sphere of influence and be their own people, which has really upset the Saudis. It's one of the reasons that all but two of the hijackers on 9/11 were from Saudi Arabia. The civilians there really hate us, and it's because we have kept that dictatorial regime in power. Saddam Hussein, remove him, he's a dictator, he's a dictator. He's a dictator who wouldn't play ball. If a dictator will play ball and give us what we want, we don't mind. In fact, we'll help install them. We installed Fidel Castro, we installed the Shah, which is a huge part of why we've got problems in Iran right now. We did most of this stuff. So, OPEC's sole goal was, and yet we had to look to OPEC with reverence because you couldn't really call them out on what they were doing, because if you pissed them off, they'd just say, we're going to stop producing oil for a week or two and see how that changes your attitude. So OPEC, and then Saudi Arabia had veto power on OPEC. So when they went to raise oil prices on the U.S., we got about 1/4 to 1/5 as many raises as other countries. We had the cheapest oil in the world outside of an OPEC country, certainly much cheaper than Europe, because Saudi Arabia was exercising their veto power in favor of the U.S., and we were in turn selling them weapons to oppress their own people. That you can give Bill Clinton as much credit as you like for the economic boom of the 90s. It wasn't him. It was cheap oil, which we got from W. Bush making a deal with the devil. So that's OPEC. That's who they are. Royal House of Saud has been on the verge of collapse for a while. One of the reasons we went into to overthrow Saddam Hussein was for regime change. But the idea was to get a regime friendly to the U.S. so that if the Royal House of Saud collapsed, we'd still have a country that had veto power in OPEC, because Iran would be allowed back into OPEC and they would owe us one. That was the theory. Did not work out that way. Now, Saudi Arabia is saying that they are going to, UAE, United Arab Emirates, is saying that they are going to leave OPEC. That's huge. They represent 15% of all of OPEC's oil. If they leave OPEC, they will no longer be bound by OPEC's regulations in terms of how much they can produce and or how much they can put on the market. They have not yet ever hit maximum production capacity, and they have never put out the maximum amount of oil that they can ship. One reason is because they have always dutifully followed OPEC guidelines to help all of them maximize money by deliberately restricting supply. Cost of an item isn't set by the business selling it. Businesses don't set the price. The price is set by supply and demand. That's it. It's what the market will bear. If you dramatically cut supply, prices go up, and if you have that item, good day for you. So they have consistently tried to manipulate the markets in favor of making oil as expensive as possible so that they can make as most money as possible, which, to be fair, we do whenever we have something like this. So, but I want you to understand what OPEC is. It's a cartel. And what happens if United Arab Emirates bails? We do know a couple of economists, and I think we should have one on to discuss it. But the short version is they're in actually very, very big trouble because UAE has been their most loyal member who has actually followed strictly all of the guidelines set out by OPEC. Also, a number of other members have said they will only stay in OPEC so long as UAE is in OPEC. So others may shortly follow. If none do, OPEC now has its first major direct competitor in terms of oil sales. We in the U.S. produce a lot of oil, but we have to buy the sweet crude. We're not selling sweet crude. So they now have another direct competitor who is unrestricted in how much they can sell. They can sell as much as they want to, thereby driving prices down no matter what OPEC does. OPEC only works if they have most, if not all, of it. It's a monopoly. This is why monopolies are prohibited in the United States. This is the whole reason for arguing against a monopoly, is so that this kind of thing can't be done. They've had a monopoly. Now they don't. They don't by 15%, possibly more, because 15% is what they've been producing as an OPEC member, but they can now produce as much as they want to. So we will see. But
there's another thing.
Yeah, please.
There's another aspect to this. Not only does it break the control of supply, but if they leave, the United States did something else in the 70s in Bretton Woods, and they managed to peg commodity prices to the U.S. dollar, making the U.S. dollar the world's reserve currency. You couldn't buy oil in anything other than U.S. dollars, which made all the countries need U.S. dollars. That has helped the United States tremendously because we can do things like print lots of money and not see an appreciable increase in things like inflation, because dollars are still needed all around the world. We can spread out the inflation worldwide, not just here in the United States. Having the world reserve currency is very important to the way that the United States functions in monetary policy.
Let me just ask you real quick. So basically, and we're going to use round numbers here, but just so that I understand, if we're talking about the British pound, for example, only Britons use it. So let's say there's 1 million British pounds total, and the Brits print another million. There's now 2 million pounds, but they all have the value of the first million has been cut in half because there's another million. But if it's the world reserve currency, then that effect is diluted across the entire planet. Is that roughly what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay.
It manipulates the market in other ways too, because everybody needs. There's always a demand for dollars,
yep.
Which also drives a lot of other things, such as interest in U.S. national debt as an investment, because it is the world. It gets pretty complicated. Needless to say, our entire monetary system and fiscal policies in the United States are all based around the U.S. having the world reserve currency. If UAE leaves OPEC, because there's an agreement with OPEC that they will only sell oil in dollars, they can now sell it to whoever they wish for whatever currency they want to accept. That breaks the petrodollar, because now the Chinese don't have to convert their yuan into dollars to buy oil from an OPEC country. They can go straight to UAE and say, we'll give you this much, then negotiate, we'll give you this much yuan for your oil. And if they're no longer bound by the rules of OPEC to accept only US dollars for oil, They can sell in any currency they wish. You can say, okay, well, we'll do some exchanges here, there, or maybe we'll say we want gold. If UAE is smart, they will price their oil in terms of gold, and that breaks the US dollar, and that's a very significant crack in the dollar being the world reserve currency.
This is part of what Russia's been trying to do. So we've been trying to undermine Russia, and we've been doing less of that.
BRICS has been trying to do this. Yes.
So Russia started BRICS in an attempt. It was started with China and I think it was Iran, in the hopes of essentially bankrupting the U.S. Now we decided, well, if we can bankrupt Russia first, then maybe we can get around this happening, because this would be a catastrophic thing if it happened, and that's why they're trying to do it. That was a good plan until somebody got into office who sent selfies of him with underage girls to Vlad, and Vlad, for some reason I can't fathom, threatened to release them publicly if Trump wasn't
who has Trump
derangement
syndrome. It's all Trump's fault.
Yes,
everything is Trump's fault.
Listen,
you crazy liberal.
All I'm saying is the lifting of sanctions is Trump's fault. I mean, yes, everything is Trump's fault. All I'm saying at this exact this moment, I'm talking about the part of his fault that's lifting of the sanctions. And Russia trying to regain its footing as an economic power, which I think is a very bad idea. Because they wouldn't do the same for us, and in fact haven't, and are trying very hard to. And in fact, Iran is selling to Russia, who said they'll both buy and sell with Iran, and to China, and has said they're no longer accepting dollars. So that's 8% of the world's oil market right there that will not accept dollars, in addition to the UAE, whatever they end up doing. So everything's going great.
No,
it's good.
The UAE may decide to stick with dollars. I mean, they're now free. I'm just pointing out that that entity that our illustrious leaders put together, and I'm going to grant the highest amount of charity to the events that happened there, because I don't think that is probably the case, but we'll give the highest charity possible. They were trying to stabilize the world with consistent oil prices, energy prices, because energy drives pretty much everything. Everything requires energy. So they're trying to stabilize a world economy, trying to make it easier for governments and countries to be able to exchange, to be able to grow, to limit conflict, because that would disrupt, things like oil supplies, and stabilize everything. And since the two major parties involved, the United States and the OPEC countries, they both get something really good out of it. So breaking this breaks everything that's come together since the 70s. It's very dangerous. BRICS has been trying to break the U.S. petrodollar since its inception, because they don't like the control that the U.S. exercises with that ability. So because it's, aid, for example, is in dollars. Well, you can take those dollars and immediately exchange them for oil and other commodities. So it gives the United States quite a lot of power and influence around the world just because of that. The problem is that everything is so entrenched in the dollar that it's really, really hard to de-dollarize everything, because everything is set up that way. You have to redo pretty much everything, and there's a consistency in transactions, there's a consistency in price. And when you break that apart, things become a lot more complicated, a lot more difficult, and a lot more expensive to try and manage. So they were facing a really big uphill battle, but the BRICS nations recognized the great benefits the United States was reaping from this system, and the fact that it could shield itself from a lot of the shocks to the system. So they've been trying this for a while, and they've gotten not very far, essentially just between themselves. And one of the problems is they couldn't come up with anything that was more stable than the dollar, which is stable partially because, well, America's military might, but also because it's the world reserve currency and everybody still wants it. So it's like a reinforcing stabilization. And if once you can get it to crack, that's the hard part. Once you can break that apart, it has the threat of collapsing fairly quickly. It's getting it fractured in the first place. And the UAE quitting OPEC and going off on its own could potentially be that fatal crack that will cause the rest of the scheme to fall apart. So it's concerning in more ways than one.
Right now, at least, my understanding is that the Trump administration has said it's for this because it's going to lower prices, which in the short term it should do because they're going to start ramping up production to the maximum that they can produce to maximize revenues. And then OPEC's going to have to do the same thing. So short term, this would end up lowering prices. I don't think Trump's capable of seeing long term, so I don't think he realizes the potential dangers. But right now, Trump is for this plan, which is another reason I'm scared. All right. Was there anything else on this one? Because there was actually one other thing I wanted to hit you with before we go.
Hit me with it. I think we've done enough doom and gloom and, oh my God, the sky is falling because UAE is leaving. And yeah.
House Resolution 8445 aims to grant American citizens serving in the Israeli Defense Force legal protections similar to U.S. troops. It's currently just, it hasn't passed yet. It's just a resolution. As of April 2026, dual citizens fighting for Israel do not automatically receive U.S. military benefits. This would change that. It would extend protections such as those related to employment and financial services to Americans serving in the IDF. In the IDF, not in the U.S. military. So that's the bill. HR 8445, which to the best of my knowledge has never even been suggested in the past for the reason that you said earlier.
Yeah, but nobody else heard me say that earlier.
Yep.
You don't generally want an armed, you don't generally want an armed force with a divided loyalties. It's like if you have dual citizenship with Israel, one of the few countries where you can kind of sort of do that. Generally, the U.S. makes you pick one. You can have dual citizenship for a certain amount of time. There are some countries where you're allowed to have dual citizenship. Israel is one of them. But to grant in the United States all U.S. benefits for serving into the armed forces while not even being in this country or serving in this country's military, I think is a bad idea.
So once again, House Resolution 8445. It was introduced to the Committee on Veterans Affairs. It has gotten out of the committee and is now introduced into the House. So it is in the House of Representatives. The introduction, this bill provides eligibility for U.S. citizens who are serving in the Israeli Defense Force to benefits and protections under the Uniformed Services Employment and Employment Rights Act and the Service Members Civil Relief Act. Specifically, the bill requires the services of such civilians to be regarded in the same manner as the services in uniformed services under USERRA or military service under SCRA. So basically, it looks like it would recognize our militaries as one in terms of people serving. Holy wow. Yeah, so that's a thing.
I mean, maybe I'm a little guilty of this because I hear it so much, but you get the, oh my God, the Jews, being in bed with Israel and Israel's actually pulling the strings. And you hear that a lot. And the first thing I think is, okay, let me get my, tin hat out so that I can, be appropriately prepared for this. And then something like this happens and you're like, well, I mean, maybe.
Well, and I'd be less. I wouldn't be as worried if it was, say, Canada Why? Well, because we share a huge border with Canada. We have similar values with Canada, and Canada is not currently committing genocide anywhere. And I'm very clear on the fact that the United States has historically been a very big fan of genocide, but I personally am not, and it's something I'd like us to see do a lot less of, if not eliminate completely from our toolbox. We're not. I don't see any sign of that happening under this administration. But having said that, Israel's been committing genocide for quite some time, and it is genocide. It's been recognized as genocide by The Hague. It's been recognized as genocide by the UN, and I don't think we should be sitting there saying that it's okay for Americans to fight in genocidal armies. I'm aware that anybody in the U.S. Army is currently fighting in a genocidal army, but one problem at a time. We shouldn't be adding to them.
Yeah, or to say, okay, well, you're dual citizenship, so we recognize your legal right to participate in the armed services of your secondary country, but you will receive no benefit or credit for that here in the United States.
Yes, that I can see.
We shouldn't incentivize that.
We shouldn't treat it like you're in our military defending our borders. You're not. You're defending another country. And they may be a great country. They may be the best country other than ours, of course. But it doesn't matter. It's still not our country. So our taxpayer dollars aren't going. So you don't get the benefits from our country. But yes, you should absolutely, if you're dual citizenship and if you want to fight with the Israeli army, you go right ahead. You do you, boo. And you should be allowed back into the U.S. and you shouldn't lose your passport or anything like that. But the idea that it will be treated as if you were fighting in the U.S. military in a war for the U.S. is insane. And it scares me because I see that as a first step towards, what's next? A mutual defense pact? If somebody drops a nuke on Israel, we're required to nuke the entire country. We've come close to already saying that. But then again, Israel is targeting the nuclear power plant in Iran, and Iran targeted their nuclear facilities back and said, listen, we know where those are, so you want to play the game, you can. And we're getting closer to a country that thinks nuclear brinksmanship is a good plan. Now, my hope is that this doesn't go anywhere. FYI, my hope is at a minimum the Senate says no. Bad house, no biscuit. But
I'm hoping the House says that.
Listen, that's why I said that's the minimum. I hope the House says. I hope this gets like 3 votes in the House. That's what I hope. But I don't know. Johnson is still.
I'm hoping this is just a publicity stunt to fulfill somebody's obligations, back scratch for whatever it was, to get something, some sweetheart deal. Through the help of somebody in Israel, and it's like, hey, we'll try pushing this. I'm really hoping that that's what it is, and it's really sad that I'm like, well, I kind of hope grift and corruption is what the reasoning behind this is.
Oh, yeah.
Because the alternative is kind of worse.
Well, that's why I read the history, and that's why I'm concerned, because it did make it out of committee. It actually started in a subcommittee. It started in the subcommittee for economic opportunity. It was then moved to the main committee on Veterans Affairs, and then it was moved out of that to the House. And in each case, they have to have a vote, and it's by majority vote. So it's now on the floor of the House. Now a lot of bills die on the floor of the House, a lot. But the fact that it got that far, if this had died in committee, I wouldn't be mentioning it. If this had died in committee, I would not have brought it up. I brought it up because it made it to the House floor, which means 2 committees said, "Oh, this is a great idea."
Yeah, I'm hoping that it was somebody scratching somebody else's back for as a quid pro quo, and that because then they can say, well, we'll get it to the actual House floor. Okay, we can get our little coalition, we can get everything pushed to at least that far, but that's all we can guarantee, and then it just dies there. That's what I'm really hoping. Because again, the alternate explanation is worse, or any other alternate explanation is probably worse. I mean, I guess I can conceivably think that it's just one nut job that was really charismatic and was able to get it pushed out to the floor. I guess that's less bad than any other option, but no, this is not a good idea.
No, this is really not a good idea. All right, I did miss a super chat.
Wait, did
yes.
we just like fully agree
No,
on something?
no.
When it comes to U.S. policy?
No, we did not. We absolutely did not.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
I listen. I think it's in the we both signed it on the contract there that we shall not agree ever fully, or it's like snowball's chance in hell, pigs flying. It's just one of those things. It's the naysay of doom. It's not going to happen. So I did miss a super chat. Canty, let's see, you missed, what'd you miss? We don't think it was a false flag. We do think our government is filled with nutcases. Erica Kirk should go home and stay there. A few other things. Oh, and if you're in the U.S. military, you can join the IDF and you'll be fine. Genocide for everyone.
But reap all of the benefits of U.S. service.
Yep.
Which there are a lot of them.
So I did miss one, LJ Boone, $69.99. Thank you, LJ Boone, for your second super chat and support. We really do appreciate it. Back to Comey, if they go after him for the shells, which is how desperate, and they're just, and he sees through it. Do they need to come after anyone who ever said, typed, or posted 8647? That's a good question. I assume that's probably something you don't want to say on air or anything like that. Am I setting you up? Really? Really? Is the game you want to play? You think I'm dumb enough to say 8647 on air? Just because you send money my way? Is that what you... We're going to talk about this later. I think she got the better of that. I think she got the better of that engagement.
Yeah, well, we're going to try. You had to go and point it out, didn't you? I was trying to help you by sliding past that.
Okay, thank you. Please continue.
Did we do the first one?
We did.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I don't remember you reading it, but I tune you out so often.
Yeah, nobody really listens. On Kimmel, Trump made the same joke about his age. It was when he said that I think it was the king and queen had been married 65 years, and he turned to Melania and said, "I don't think we're going to make it that far." It's just like it's the same joke.
Well, and I was going to say this, but you got on your little soapbox and you got a good run going, so I didn't want to interrupt you.
Okay, yeah.
But like the Wanda Sykes joke, as much as I don't particularly care for Wanda Sykes, just I've never found her particularly funny. But that joke was actually very well done because she's not insinuating that somebody ought to do it, or even that it's a possibility. It's like, who's arranged that? Because this is a bad idea, putting all these people together. Let's put obviously the next person in line. It's like that was a really well done and fairly tasteful.
Yep.
As far as assassination jokes go, it's actually funny.
It is.
But
please.
The one that Kimmel did just wasn't. It was. I did not find it particularly funny. I mean, I guess if you're really rooting for a health issue to take Trump out, so that you don't have to worry about anything that he does again. I mean, I guess I can understand that sentiment. I still don't like the idea of purposely wishing somebody ill so that you don't have to deal with them anymore. But I mean, natural causes are a solution, whether it's a good one or not.
The general consensus has been Melania's wanted out of this marriage for quite some time. So I took that to be a little bit more where the joke lay. I will agree it wasn't as funny.
I think I agree with you about the reasoning behind it and what it was targeted towards. I don't think that he was in any way saying somebody ought to get a shotgun and some knives and rush a Secret Service checkpoint in the hopes of getting someplace where you could do some damage. So I don't believe that it had anything to do with that. I agree with your assessment about where that joke was headed. It when you compare the two jokes, it's one is genuinely funny. This one kind of falls a little flat. I mean,
the Correspondents dinner used to be, and there were some people who didn't like. I always loved it, but they called it Nerd Prom, and I'm a nerd, and that's why they called it Nerd Prom, was because people who like politics, people who like journalism, would sit there and listen, and then hear jokes like that. And the thing is, there are people, even then, I couldn't tell that joke to, because they had no idea that Nancy Pelosi was third in line of succession. They may have known that she was Speaker of the House, but they didn't really know enough about politics that joke would just land. The joke landed with everybody in the
I would
room.
say, yeah. I would think that probably 90% of just Americans don't know the succession of power in the U.S. government, wouldn't have gotten that joke at all. They'd be like, and there's not an insignificant number of people that would have been like, Nancy, who is that?
yeah.
And hello to Mark Reed's viewers who just rated us.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark Reed. We are winding down, but you're going to get to see the Lego. I promised a Lego exit. It's not, so there is in fact.
Oh, come on now. Wait. Before you get to the cool Legos video that we're all been dying to watch.
Yeah.
It's Mark Reed. He specifically sent his viewers and himself to our illustrious live chat. Do you not feel any pressure to continue going for another hour of listening to me ramble on about things that I claim to know something about and probably don't?
That's a really good question. The answer is no. Not in the slightest. Like none. Not even to be polite.
Not even a little?
Not even a little. But it was a good try.
I tried, Reed viewers. I tried.
Well, but here's what we can do. We can do two videos, because we do have one that, and I think this is important. This video is actually an important one, if I've got the right one, and I think I do. Yeah, I think I got it. Well, no, this is on oil prices versus... Yes, this is the right one. So, there are two types of Lego videos that we need to break down, just so you guys are aware before we play two Lego videos. Don't go on another hour when Nick reads. Really? You kind of seem like you do, but anyways. There have been a lot of funny Lego
Mark's
videos.
A beast, man. He just goes and goes and goes. And you're watching, and you're just like, I mean, if you ever need something to watch for any length of time, tune in.
Yep.
You won't be disappointed.
That's why we rate him.
Even if it's not your kind of content, at least you'll finally get to sleep and you'll stop doing.
Oh, okay. Mark,
you'll
please
either be
bifurcate.
Thoroughly entertained,
or sleep.
If it's not your thing, you'll be asleep finally.
Yeah, that describes us pretty well too, so that's fair. Okay, so the two kinds of videos. One is by Explosive Media. Explosive Media did the very first ones. They are a company, we believe, in China. We believe that the people making it are mostly, if not all, Chinese. Many probably raised in the United States and extraordinarily familiar with U.S. culture, even up to the modern, just like what's here and now happening in the U.S., which is slightly terrifying, and is one of the reasons why I had always said that the TikTok ban actually made more sense to me than it did to people like, what are they going to data mine? This kind of thing. But having said that, the videos got so viral and so popular, and the company admitted that Iran was one of its clients. They didn't say that they were making the videos for Iran, but yeah. So that's Explosive Media, and that's most of the ones that we've shown. But there are now just viral ones all over the place. And everybody always says, "Oh, they're made by the Iranians." No, there's only one set that's really made by the Iranians, and they're hiring a Chinese company to do it. They haven't put out a new one since, I think the last one was Come Closer. So that's like about 2 weeks. So if you've seen one in the last 2 weeks, it's not one of the real Iranian ones. They're still funny. I'm watching 2 or 3 a day. The one we're going to play for you at the credits is I think an important one and a good one, and makes a lot of points that I think you should consider, which is why we're playing it. And they have a tendency to do that, but it's not one of the official ones. This is one of the official ones. There's no words in it, but there's a reason I think this one's important. I don't even know. It's 2 minutes. I don't even know if it's really worth playing the entire thing. It's not like it's funny or anything. But you can see it's got the Explosive Media logo down at the bottom. And this came from the Iranian consulate, or at least their X page. So, oh yeah. So they know people are betting on the markets. And here's an interesting thing. Are they changing their timing to screw up people messing with the markets? Okay, that was a real hit. So here's what I find interesting about this video. Every hit that they mention is a real hit that we don't know what hit it. We talked about this about a week ago. There was a site in Texas that blew up. We don't know what blew it up. There have been sites across the world. Oil sites have been blowing up in a higher rate than usual. And we don't know why. And we talked about this the last show. And what's interesting is this video seems to take credit for it. And since this is from the actual group affiliated with Iran, and was dropped by the Iranian consulate, it seems to me that Iran is taking credit for blowing up random oil refineries in an attempt to drive up prices. So this is one of the UAE facility. The Saudi facility. We gave a list of all the facilities. That actually happened. They put a missile in the middle of Tehran Square. This was during the ceasefire, and there's this great image of a huge, it looks like an ICBM to me. It's big enough to be one, right in the middle of, they just rolled it right up into Tehran Square. Like, I know there's a ceasefire, but aren't we supposed to blow that up or something?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم انا فتحنا لك فتحا مبینا.
So we had speculated last time that Iran may be responsible for this sudden unknown oil refineries exploding. We also pointed out that sometimes things like this happen, and correlation does not imply causality, and we had to keep an eye on it. It appears now that they are taking credit, in fact, for targeting a number of oil refineries, even during, well, actually, no, this was after the ceasefire, but no, even without having their own refineries targeted, at least yet. So that's a development we thought we should make you aware of by Lego Video. Any final thoughts as Andering before we go?
It's pretty sad when we're looking at and actually airing propaganda videos likely commissioned by a country we're ostensibly at war with without any actual declaration of said war. These are the times. These are the times.
Trump is so performist. He lies about everything. How many times have we blown up and eliminated Iran? How many times are... Listen, I have to believe Iran is doing propaganda and lying to us, but nobody lies as much as our own president, so I have to fucking believe I can get more accurate information out of Iran than I can out of our own White House press secretary. That's really friggin' scary. And what's scary about that too is do the super chats. Oh, did I miss one? I may have. Michael Ashdown, 647. Gotta say it. Gotta say what?
Wait, hold on. Well, you go ahead.
Well, no, I was
for just a minute.
Well, I was wondering if he was trying to get me to say 8647 again, which I'm not going to say on air because we are going to get demonetized like crazy if I do. So that's not going to work again.
So what you do is you say, I'll fix this for you.
Please.
Mitch Ashdown, $63.20 US dollars. Gotta say it.
Oh. Oh, it was. I didn't even.
Yeah, $63.20 US dollars.
47. I didn't catch that. I feel dumb now. I feel really dumb now.
Just now?
And a little pissed off. Dumb and a little pissed off.
Just now? You
Yes.
been pissed off for like the last, 3 years now? God, please tell me I haven't been here for 3 years.
Well,
we got to take a year out.
My own live chat is trying to get me demonetized and sent to jail. This is just great.
The thing I never think according to the Department of Justice now, I mean, 86th. I grew up and we used that term quite a lot, and it meant expelled from the bar forever if you were 86th.
Yep.
It didn't mean we killed you.
Yeah. I'm going to be
you
sitting
weren't
there.
allowed to come in it anymore. Let's 86 the president. That means get him out of office forever. How does that suddenly come to a threat of assassination against the president? I don't understand. Make it make sense to me.
I can't. I will say I'm going to be facing a judge next week, and he's going to say, "Do you know why you're here?" And I'm like, "Yes, because I started a YouTube channel, Your Honor. I got all those smarmy ones." All right. Enough fun and games now. You try to do a real news show.
Since you've quoted the number so many times, and you're going to have the Attorney General knocking at your door.
Probably, yeah.
Watch out for the eyes. You might as well read the information on the number 8,647. It is apparently, I've got this on good authority, that it's the only 4-digit prime that is two less than a square, 93 squared, and one more than a triangular number. It's also between two primes, 8,641 and 8,663. So there's your mathematical explanation of the number 8,647.
Which is why it's important, and the reason we discussed it here today, and for no other reason. Thank you for joining us. All right. Have a good night, all. Have a good night, most of you. The ones of you who are nice to me, have a good... Okay, so like 2 or 3 of you, have a good night. There's Mark Reed.
Wow, you're massively overestimating your goodwill.
No, there's...
See, I already know nobody's wishing me a good night, so...
Yeah.
There's a reason this is the only place I
Mark Reed, Sandy, I think I got a couple. Of course I have Top Chat on as that Top Chat thing is going to get me murdered one of these days if my own audience doesn't do it first. All right. There's a couple people out there wishing me well and probably not trying to get me into prison. And I'm going to be demonetized now for showing like Lego videos and all the other, but that was, hey, and the Wanda Sykes. So speaking of, I will end on this, the Wanda Sykes, that was a good joke. It was brilliantly done. And I've never been a huge fan of Wanda Sykes either, but it was so impressive that this happened and I was still able to remember it. That was from Obama's like first or second term, and I still remember the joke.
That pretty well narrows it down as first or second I mean, that's the only two. I actually miss the White House Correspondents Center during the Obama years because Obama got into it.
Oh, yes, he did.
You remember the one where he shows the beginning of The Lion King?
Yep.
And says we actually have video evidence of the
of his birth.
Show it because he was making fun of Trump.
Yep, and him being born in Kenya. And then there was the he's like, he goes, I've been reaching out across the aisle. I've been working with people. I've went to a barbecue with Jim Boehner, and went skiing with this guy, and even went to a book burning with Michelle Bachmann. She's like, oh,
I know.
Yeah.
He got into it, and he gave. I did not think, especially with all of the Fox news floating around at the time, that I would ever lament for the Obama years. I mean, Obama was actually a statesman, and what we've had since Obama has been a shit show.
Yep.
I mean, since 2016, it's all been a shit show.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to call it. We're going to go. Yep. It's been a long goodbye, but I long learned that why say something briefly when you can take a very long time to say the exact same thing.
I keep interrupting and extending everything because Mark rejoined and I wanted to put up a good front for everybody.
You
make it worth the rate.
All right. Well, they're going to see Lego video now. So, all right. Thank you all for joining us. Come join us on the Discord, and we've got copies of all our videos. I think we have most of the Lego videos on the Discord too. If we don't, I'll take care of that and make sure that they all get into our media section. And until then, our next scheduled show is Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's Downtime with Lance McMillan. I believe Terry will be there. We had a show scheduled with Greg Terry on Ukraine. It got preempted because White House Correspondents dinner, which I was just like, I don't know if I told you the story. Now I have to. But a friend of mine hit me up.
I was extending
I know.
Long goodbye.
His White House Correspondents dinner. And it started an hour before we were going to be on with Ukraine. I was just like, I'm not even going to watch it. It's just going to be a nightmare. We had it. White House Correspondents dinner, shots fired. I was like, oh, really? Who? What'd they say? I thought it was, that's what my answer was. I was like, what'd they say? What was so funny? Like, no, shots fired. I was like, wait, somebody was shooting at somebody? It took me, I'm spinning my wheels for a minute. Everybody else is trying to just is this real? Okay. Uncle Leo? All right. Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, hopefully with Greg Terry, because we have a makeup show with, I DM'd him, I was like, you're being preempted, dude. He goes, yeah, I saw. All right, we'll talk to you all later. Have a good night.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Pull up a chair. This story's going far. We interrupt your regular feed with the breaking report on something you need. No spin, no drama, just facts on the ground. The price of your gas is the headline sound. Grab your coffee, sit tight, take a breath, because the Strait of Hormuz is making headlines again.
The oil shock is coming.
It's already here.
The paper price says fine.
The physical says fear.
One number on Google,
another in the real, $35 apart.
Now that's a big deal. The oil shock is coming
to a pump near you.
Washington's managing the headlines.
but the math is breaking through. February 28th, the strait went dark. 130 daily ships, now it's just a spark. Iran closed the corridor, 20% of global flow. 8 million barrels a day with nowhere left to go. Asia got hit first, the Philippines declared emergency overnight. Indonesia told workers stay home, conserve the fuel, stay tight. Japan slowed down its ferries, India rationed cooking gas. Africa started diluting petrol just to make the reserves last. Europe stopped receiving shipments somewhere around April 10th. Australia released its national stockpile, counting every percent. The final cargo reached California on the 8th of April. France and Texas took its last crude delivery, that's where the buffer ends. JP Morgan ran the numbers, marked the date upon the wall. April 20th is when the pre-closure ban was finally fall. That is today, right now. The pipeline buffer's gone and the physical price and the paper price cannot stay this far apart for long.
The oil shock is coming.
It's already here.
The paper price says fine.
The physical says fear.
One number on Google.
Another in the real, $35 apart.
Now that's a big deal. The oil shock is coming
to a pump near you.
Washington's managing the headlines,
but the math is breaking. Now let's talk about history because the charts don't lie. 1973, the Arab embargo hit the sky. 7% the global supply went offline. Back then, oil jumped 300%. The markets fell and fell again. Stocks dropped 52% across 23 long months. A 12% inflation peak. America took the brunt. 1990, the Gulf War took a similar 7% out. Oil up 75, stocks down 21. Short recession, no doubt. But this time, the numbers show 15 to 20% offline. More than double either crisis and there is no clear finish line. The fertilizer is rising, it's made from natural gas. That same gas flows through Hormuz. The disruption's unsurpassed. In 6 to 12 months time, that price works through your grocery store, just like Ukraine in 2022.
We have seen this before.
The bond market is shifting, China's yields are going down, while US, UK, Germany, and Japan watch their borrowing costs compound. The world's safe haven money, it is moving, make no mistake. And when paper meets physical, something's going to break.
The oil shock is coming.
It's already here.
The paper price says fine.
The physical says fear.
One number on Google.
Another in the real, $35 apart.
Now that's a big deal. The oil shock is coming
to a pump near you.
Washington's managing the headlines,
but the math is breaking through. This has been your evening briefing, built brick by brick. A Lego news report, because sometimes simple makes it click. No mountains on the horizon, that's a wave coming in. Stay informed, stay prepared, and we'll see you again. This is your correspondent, signing off tonight. The oil shock is coming, keep the receipts, stay tight.
End of broadcast. End of broadcast.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Pull up a chair, this story's gone far. Yeah.